Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the important news and editorial that are relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 10th of February, the first important news, that is ISRO to launch new rocket SSLV-D2. We'll see the detail about the satellite that is on board. Second, center not planning a bill on appointment of the judges. There's a tussle ongoing between the judiciary and executive. We'll see some fine line that is relevantly important for the examination purposes. Third, United States will not sanction India for buying Russian oil. US has made it clear. The last is an editorial. The first editorial is from the Hindu, that is India's Green Hydrogen Challenge. And the second editorial from Indian Express, Exploring the Blue in India-France Partnership. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ-based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful for your examination purposes, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is ISRO to launch new rocket SSLV-D2. Something important for General Studies Paper 3 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is Achievement of India in Science and Technology, Indianization of Technology and Development of New Technologies. So the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, will be marking the second attempt to launch the SSLV, which stands for Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. When I'm recording this lecture, basically the launch process has already been started. And this is the second development of the flight of SSLV that will be launched from Sriharikota. There was a maiden effort that was made by ISRO in the launch of small satellite launched vehicle, which was there in August 7 last year, but it has actually failed. And the desired result was not there because satellite was not placed in the desired orbit as earlier anticipated or planned by the Indian Space Research Organization. Now, looking into the satellite that is on board, very important for examination purposes, that direct question in prelims examination can be framed. And hypothetically, suppose if you're writing something in mains examination per se with regards to the space sector and achievement, you can even use this as an example purposes, right? So which are the satellites that is on board? According to the Indian Space Research Organizations, the small satellite launch vehicle will attempt to put at least the satellite that is there for 50 kilometer of circular orbit. That will be the for duration of 15 minutes. This satellite include ISRO EOS-07 first. Second is US-based firm Entris. The satellite name is Janus-1. And third satellite is Space Kids Azadi Stat, which is Chennai-based spacecraft, which is a startup that has actually come up with this satellite. Very important, very significant. A direct question in this statement, like which is an Indian spacecraft which was named after the Space Kids or Azadi Stat, is very important for many other government examination also. Now, talking about the satellite, as I've categorically spoke about the EOS-07, Janus-1 and Azadi Stat, the agency's names are also important for examination. For EOS-07, the agency is ISRO. For Janus-1, the agency is Entris, that is from USA. And for Azadi Stat, the agency is Space Kids India. It's a new startup which is based in Chennai. The mass of the satellites are also given 156.3, Janus 10.2, and for the other satellite, that is Azadi Stat 2, this is 8.7 kg. So these are the detailed, precise detail, not that deep down, but although this much is essentially required as an aspirant for civil services. Now, missions की अगर बात करें जो कि इसरो ने पूरे फ्रेमवर्क बनाई हुई है, how things will be there. So just to give you a broad glimpse, this is how the satellite are placed, right? And SSLV, that is a small satellite launch vehicle, is capable of launching mini, micro, and nano satellite from 10 kgs to 500 kgs mass into 500 kilometer of planar orbit. And SSLV is a 3-stage. I'll show you a part also on that in the later part of the video. जहाँ पे liquid propulsion है, even it is a solid propulsion based on velocity timing module, right? And the design driver of SSLV are low cost, low turnaround time, flexibility in accommodating the multiple satellites, and even launch on demand, feasibility and a minimum launch infrastructure requirement. Mission की objectives की अगर बात करें, it aims to demonstrate in-flight performance of SSLV vehicles, that is the small satellite launch vehicles, and injection of EOS-7 satellite with 2 co-passenger satellite, that is Janus-1, which is a, and Ajadi Stat-2 is into the 450 kilometer circular orbit. So this is what we discussed, a basic, crisp brief of that, what was the mission all about. Now I'll be giving a detail about each and every satellite relevantly important for examination. So the first is EOS-7. So what is the objective with this satellite? So it designed and developed with payload instrument that is compatible with the microsatellite bus, new technologies that are required to future operational satellite, and designed and developed as a microsatellite accommodating new technology payloads with a quick turnaround time. So these are some of the minute details, the new technology experiment with waves, humidity sounders and spectrum monitoring payloads. And these are the other technical aspect, which essentially is not that important. If you want, you can read it out. The power is like lithium battery, which is there. Now, talking about the Janus-1, this is the satellite mass with 10.2 kg. And it's a technology demonstration satellite missions based on Antrix software platform. This is again important कि software पे ये based है. And it demonstrates the module bus and multi-tenants payload or with onboard edges of computing, programmable smart EPX and other secure part, and digital twinning with SaaS platform. So this is the image. These are the official image that is there in the ISRO websites. Now the last one is Adadi Sat, which is AU Nano Stat weight for 8.8. And this particular satellite aims to demonstrate the LORA and amateur radio communications capabilities that measures the radiations level in space and enable satellite structure. It has about 750 girl students who guided the development of the payload. Very important, even very important for the examination. Example, so you can use that. The student team of the Space Kids India integrated this payload. तो अगर आप कहीं ऐसे examples लिखे where the part of the children should be taken into examples जहाँ पे बच्चों को space sector में किस तरह से और motivate कर सकते हैं, this can be the classical example. So these are the image officially released by the ISRO. Now, what are the advantages of this satellite launch? The small satellite launch vehicle or the SSLV caters to launch up 500 kg satellite in the low Earth orbit and on the launch on demand basis. So this is basically on LEO, again important. And it provides low cost access to space, low turnaround time, flexibility in accommodating the multiple satellite and demands of minimal infrastructures. Now it configure with a 3 solid propulsion stage with a velocity of terminal module. So this is the basic detail essentially required for the examination purposes. Now moving to the other news, Center not planning a bill on appointment of the judges, something important for General Studies paper 2, under the subtopic that is structure, organization and functions of executive and judiciary. So the Union Law Minister has recently informed the Upper House, informed the Rajya Sabha that the appointment of the judges in the higher judiciary is a collaborative process. The statement was made amid the impression that there's an ongoing tussle going between the judiciary and the central government. Now the minister has categorically said that the differences that is arising between the executive and judiciary should be mutually reconciled. This will ensure that the appropriate person is appointed for any level of judiciary, be it its High Court or the Supreme Court. And even the Union Law Ministry has said that the government has written to Chief Justice of India about setting up of a search evaluation committee that will look into the representative from the union as well as from the state government. But the Supreme Court on its part has not appreciated whether they will be looking forward with this search cum evaluations committee. This is something the Supreme Court has to come up with their sole opinion, because Supreme Court has already said that there's a collegium system which is put in place to select the appointment of the judges. So let's see how things are working out and what are the feasibility that government is also looking in terms of the appointment of the judges. Now, vacancies की अगर बात करें कोर्ट में, this is what was informed in the upper house although. The Supreme Court currently functions with 32 judges as against the total strength of 34. To the process, the two remaining vacant posts, the post which is there in the Supreme Court will also be filled. And in High Court, against the sanctions of 1,108 judges, a total of 771 is working, and 337, that is 337 posts are still vacant, which government will look forward to fill this with eligible individual occupying the space. Now, the pending cases that is there in judiciary, the Union Law Minister has informed the Rajya Sabha that there's 69,000 cases that is pending in Honorable Supreme Court, while nearly 60 lakh of the cases that is pending specifically in the High Court. I've not taken the lower court and other part of the subordinate court into consideration. These were the two facts that was placed before the upper house in the upper house by the Union Law Ministry. Now, if you see what is a tussle between National Judicial Appointment Commission and Collegium system, I already had a discussion in this regard. We had a detailed discussion, but although we'll give you a premise and basic brief about that. So what is Collegium? Collegium is a system that is based on 3 judges. Under it, the appointment of the judges are made by the Chief Justice of India, that is CJI, right? And the senior most judges of the Supreme Court. It does not has a constitutional backing, although it's a basic procedure that is being followed as a convention. And Constitution of India in Article 124 says that the appointment has to be made by the President in consultation with the judges as President may deem necessary. And what is the criticism with regards to the collegium system? The criticism is that it's a closed door system which lacks transparency. This has resulted the government with the formation of NJAC, which was again struck down by the Honorable Supreme Court. So NJAC was a body that was created to end 2-decade-old Supreme Court collegium system of the appointment of the judges, and it was passed in Lok Sabha in August 13, 2014 and passed by the Rajya Sabha on later date. But again, the Supreme Court has categorically struck it down. Composition की अगर बात करें, CGI, 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court, law minister and 2 eminent person. This was a controversy that these 2 eminent person can be selected by the central government. So in a nutshell, the strength of the honorable अगर बात करें कोर्ट की, तो वहाँ पे सिर्फ 3 लोग होंगे, यहाँ पे भी 3 लोग होंगे. So it can have a tussle between the judiciary and executive. So the dominance is not there. Now, the criticism says that the judges in NJSC will need support from other push through, and there will a fear of judicial independence that can be compromised. So these are the argument against the NJSC and against the collegium system. Now, moving to the other news, United States will not sanctions India for buying the Russians' oil. This is a categorical statement coming from the US. And relevant for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is effects of policies and politics for developed and developing countries on India's interest and India's diaspora. Recently, the US Assistant Secretary of State for European Union and Eurasian Affairs has said that US is comfortable with the approaches that India is taking in buying oil from Russia. And she added that US is not looking to sanctions India in relationship between the two countries that is mostly consequential. So again, US is appreciating on the part of the bilateral relationship that is categorically, in terms of confined to a region, specifically between Russia and India. Now, India and China is the biggest buyer after the sanctions that has been made to the Russia by the United States. I'm not discussing the detailed part of the sanctions because the discussion has already been made and most of you must be aware. If not, do check it out. What are the sanctions that is there? There are economic sanctions, there are political sanctions which is there for the Russia. Now, confining myself to the discussion part. So India and Russia are the biggest buyer of the oil after the sanctions were there. Following the sanctions, the European Union and G7 that has levied on Russia because Russia has invaded Ukraine. So this was the repercussion that Russia has seen amid the invasion of the Ukraine. उसके बाद ये देखा गया कि इंडिया और चाइना has become the biggest buyer of Russian crude oils, taking the advantages of the steep discount that Russia is offering. Now, Russia was an earlier 17th biggest supplier to India, now has become the highest exporter in the past few months, and it now accounts for 28% of the oil import from 0.2% before the Ukraine invasion. So you can see the hike that has been made by India in terms of total import, right? And nearly 50% of India's gas requirement come from abroad. This is again a reality that we have to admit. Now, Russia's oil import by India and China. This is a graph. This will tell you an idea like how things are working out. For India, you can see there's a drastic, sharp, steep that is witnessed, and is ahead. China is way ahead of India. So the number is about this much. Now, transitions in domestic currency. This is what the country has been pitching for, specifically both for India as well as for Russia. Although the price of Russian crude is attractive one amid the sanctions, or India refineries के बात करें, they have faced challenges in trying the financial purchasing part. There was all things that was talked about for the specific account that can be created. But again, after the sanctions, both countries, India and China, is looking forward with their domestic currencies payment. And RBI has also asked for the green assent on this part. So one of the options that has been considered was the system based on local currencies that India's exporter on Russia get to paid off the ruble instead of US dollar. So this is something that is required. And euros import will be paid in rupees. So this is how it actually hasn't worked out, but definitely the feasibilities are likely to come up. However, China's state-owned company enterprises are increasingly using Chinese renminbi rather than dollar to finance their oil purchases. Now, what things has been impacted after the Russia's invasion to Ukraine, how the economic sanction, specifically talking about the economic sanctions, how it has impacted the Russia's economy. 17.1% is the annual inflation, which is pretty higher number. 8 to 9% is the trade retail set for all financial year. 83.5% car sales fall in May 2022. 7.8% official forecast fall in Russia's GDP, and 30% of the unofficial forecast to the GDP collapse by the IIF. So these are the details specifically by the global agencies in terms of Russia's economy and its future forecast. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, the first editorial from Indian Express, India's green hydrogen challenges, something important for General Studies paper 3 under the subtopic that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradations, and EIA. So what are the issues that has evolved in this editorial? Before we jump down to the issues, the theme of this editorial is green hydrogen challenge for India. I think the title itself is specify what we are discussing. Now, some of the issues include the national hydrogen mission with the backgrounder, although India's roadmap, some challenges that is specifically mentioned in this editorial is the electrolyzer challenge, energy resources challenge, end use challenge, and endogenous resources challenge. We'll see one by one everything in details. So green hydrogen की अगर बात करें, it's one of the most recent additions to the list of clean fuel, and even not only for India, globally it has become a picture for most of the countries and even the viable solutions towards a clean fuel. Recently, the union government has announced the green hydrogen missions to make country a productions of export hub of the green hydrogen, right? So the countries, specifically government of India, is looking forward with the mission where the green hydrogen will be in a mass productions. Green hydrogen is believed to have incredible potentials to replace the fossil fuels. Now, what is National Hydrogen Mission? That was there by the government of India this year only. So the mission was approved by the center in January this year with an initial outlay of 19,744 crore rupees, right? Initial outlay दी गई है for next 5 years, aiming at producing of 5 million metric ton of green hydrogen and associated renewable energy capacity with an additional of about 125 gigawatt by 2030. And just to remind you that India has set a target for net zero emissions. Net zero emissions की अगर बात करें, this is by 2070. The intent of this mission is to incentivize the commercial productions of green hydrogen and make India the next exporter of the fuel. Which are the missions? The missions call for specifically some of the important components, which include the decarbonization of industries, mobility of energy sector, reducing the dependence on imported fossil fuel and food stocks, developing indigenous manufacturing capabilities, creating employment opportunities. Definitely we'll explore a lot more opportunities, and developing the new technologies such as efficient fuel cells. So if you're writing in mains paper, you have to highlight all this important point very much relevant. India's roadmap की अगर बात करें, by 2030 the center or government of India hopes its investment to bring worth 8 trillion that will create over 6 lakh jobs, and moreover the 50 million metric ton per annum of CO2 emissions are expected to be averted by 2030. Now India has a national determined contribution. So NDC की अगर बात करें, to meet the goal of Paris Agreement, India is committed to reduce the emission intensity of GDP by 45% by 2030 from 2005 levels. Now challenges that is there. This is the main highlight that is specifically mentioned on this editorial. तो 4 challenges बताए गए हैं. We'll see each challenges one by one. So the challenges to produce the green hydrogen can be classified into 4 E's, very important for mains examination. First is electrolyzer challenges, energy resource challenges, end use challenges, and endogenous resources challenges. So looking into each and every component one by one. First is electrolyzer challenges. Electrolyzer challenges में बात करें, International Energy Agency ने report किया है that the global manufacturing capacity of electrolyzers stand to be only at 8 gigawatt, which is again on the lower side. So if India wanted to achieve the 2030 target, it would need to have it like from 8, it would require it to do it by 60 to 100 gigawatt, right? And now it's present 8, it need to move down to 60 to 100, right? So this is what almost 12 times of the current global productions. So we essentially required to increase it by 12 times. Now access to critical means for such important minerals like nickel, platinum, and other rare metals such as lanthanum, zirconium that could be scaling up the electrolyzer part of manufacturing. The capacity need to be increased. But the worst part is that we are resourcing this all from other countries and they're concentrated on that specific region geographically. So countries की बात करें, China, Democratic Republic of Congo, Australia, Indonesia, South Africa, Chile, and Peru. Now, China can be again ruled out in terms of maximum part of the import, but other countries are helping out. But again, India की dependency कहीं ना कहीं इन countries पे रहेगी. India also have limited processing capabilities in this minerals. तो processing की भी अगर बात करें, वहाँ पे भी काफी ज़्यादा bottlenecks हैं. So ये electrolyzer की challenges हैं. Now the second challenges, as I've told you, there are 4 challenges. The second is about the energy resource challenge. This is the second challenge. As per the estimates, जो complete efficient equalizer system है, is requiring the 39 kilowatt of electricity to produce 1 kg of hydrogen, right? Currently, India की जो estimates capacity है 125 gigawatt of renewable energy meet करने की है. Target is again 2030. So which could additionally have additional proposal of 500 gigawatt for renewable energy capacities. So far, India has only achieved 119 gigawatts of the total allocated target of 175. That was specifically set by India, and India said that India will be using solar, wind, and biopower as well as small hydropower to get this target done. But overall challenges की अगर बात करें, India need to add efficient and economic close to 100 gigawatt with overall renewable energy capacity with per year, and the next 7 years that will make available dispatch of corridors and other mechanisms. Now moving to the third challenge, that is end use challenge. जो product की viability है उसकी uses भी एक बहुत बड़ी challenge है. Currently most of the demand of the hydrogen come from the chemical industries, right? This is the third challenge. Now the transport sector can be used as a fuel of heavy duties vehicles, aviations, and shipping parts. Now the fourth challenge is the endogenous resource challenge. It can be estimated जहाँ पे productions की बात की गई that 1 kg of hydrogen by electrolysis require 9 liters of water. This much essentially the water is required, and talking about country like India, which is An independent assessment agency has said that approximately 50 billion liters of demineralized water supply is required. So this is again another challenge that is there. So several part of the India is already a water stressed, right? Solutions need to be founded to cater additional water demand. Now, to conclude the part of the editorial, like to achieve the set of the target that is there under the green hydrogen mission, definitely the stakeholders, the government of India and other important stakeholders in this part will have to address all the challenges listed above. That is the 4 challenges, 4E that we have discussed. And they need to coordinate in multiple institutional bodies where both public and private in record can place in time, और अगर जरूरत पड़े तो PPP मॉडल पे भी काम की जा सकती है, and feasibly the feasibility of problems can be looked upon with the other solutions also. Moving to the other editorial of the day, that is exploring the blue in India-France partnership. This is the second editorial for the day, something relevant for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So what are the issues under this editorial? First, talking about the theme. The theme is India-France bilateral relationship. And some of the important issues is the big picture. We'll look into that. The military dialogues, the maritime ties, and the way forwards. Now, the celebrations by India and France, that is of 25 years, there's a strategic partnership. And it's an opportunity for both countries to introspect their bilateral relationship. तो टाइमलाइन काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है. डायरेक्ट सवाल आपसे मेंस में पूछे जा सकते हैं. दोज ऑफ यू FPS IR एज एन ऑप्शनल, उन बच्चों के लिए, उन कैंडिडेट के लिए भी इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस काफ़ी रेलेवेंट होंगे. Now, the time-stressed strategic partnership has continued to gain momentum over the shared values of aspirations in terms of peace, stability, and most importantly, a desire for strategic autonomy. Now, France has emerged as a key trading partner for India with annual trade of 12.42 billion in 2021 and 22. And it is the 11th largest foreign investor in India with an annual cumulative investment of 10.31 billion for 2020 till June 2022, and it represents 1.70% of the total foreign direct investment inflows in India. Now, अगर broader picture देखें India और France के relationship को, there's something more that has to be seen in a broader perspective. So France has emerged as a key defense partner to India, becoming the second largest defense partner. Russia is again definitely the one. And emerging as a major strategic partner, India with a crucial defense deal that has increased with the higher level of military engagement. कुछ examples की अगर बात करें, French Scorpion conventional submarines हैं. उसके अलावे Rafales are again something very important. The Rafale fighter jets, 36 Rafale jet that has been inducted in the Indian Air Force. The Tata Group has also tied up with Airbus manufacturing of C-95 tactical transport aircraft, which is based in Baroda and Gujarat in India. Now, the line is expected to be expanded in other civilian and military aircraft, where the manufacturing for the joint venture with the France will take care of. So the joint venture partnership, another development part, be it as infrastructure development, energy security, or military advancement, everything is there in the broader picture. Now, military dialogues की अगर बात करें, in military dialogue, I wanted to highlight 3 important exercises that is jointly commenced by the countries, which include Varuna for Navy, Garuda for Air, and Shakti for Army. Very important. Directly question can be framed, right? And the complexities in the international geopolitics order have emerged. Both countries work together in deepening and broadening their cooperations. France was among the first country which is signed for the civil nuclear deal. And France support India's bid for permanent membership of the United Nations Security Councils and its entry to the nuclear supplier group. Now, maritime ties is again an important part and component of this. So, India and France are the resident power of Indian Ocean and in the Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific is again an important point which India definitely concerned for. Now, both countries have welcomed their joint shared vision or strategic vision for India-France cooperations in the Indian Ocean region, and also come up with a blueprint to strengthen the ties. Maritime security further, अगर momentum में बात करें, दोनों countries ने articulate की है कि Indo-Pacific में free, fair और open Indo-Pacific की बात की जानी चाहिए, which China is again a point that India is looking into counter. And both countries share a comprehensive strategy in terms of Indo-Pacific and seeks to provide comprehensive solutions to maritime security, regional cooperations, and climate change adaptations. And India and France in September 2022 has agreed for the Indo-Pacific Trilateral Development Cooperation Fund, again very important as a part of initiative that will provide sustainable innovation solutions for country in the region, specific for Indo-Pacific and country for India and France. Now, way forward to this context between a relationship and bilateral relationship between India and France. So, India's partnership with France will build on a common values and goal. There are high level of France political dialogue that is ongoing in the defense, maritime, counter-terrorism, and Indo-Pacific. There are now forging ahead with the cooperation that is issues with digitalization, cyber, green energy, blue economy, and ocean sciences and space. Now, it is making of a longer strategic partnership. The common interest is enhancing their strategic autonomy and improving the resilience. There's much ground ahead of the further collaborations. So this is how you can conclude your answers if you're writing specifically in mains. For a broader perspective, for a better understanding, a conclusion part is essentially required. Now, moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. The first question, answer is A, and for the second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. With reference to the International Labour Organization, consider the following statement. It is an individual agency whose mandate is to advance social and economic justice by setting international labor standard. It was created in 1919 as a part of Treaty of Versailles, and it releases the social dialogue report. So do check it out for the correct option, whether option A, B, C or D is correct. You have to choose that. Practicing question is very important, right? That is the reason we have incorporated the part of current affairs in this session. तो आप चेक करें कौन सा करेक्ट ऑप्शन है, मैं आपको करेक्ट ऑप्शंस जो है वो कल बताऊंगा. The second question for the day, that is Jaipur ground, was recently seen in news, is related to which of the following options? A dinosaurs, a plant species, a butterfly, a reptile, or what? You have to check for the correct option. This was all about for today's daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ. If you have any other concern, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.